It seems like it has been forever since I have sat down here and made a video for you. And you may have noticed that I haven't been uploading as regularly as I normally do. These past 2 months have been some of the most stressful months I've ever gone through in my life. And not only did I not have the time nor energy to make videos, I was also really lacking motivation. However, things are finally looking up, and this video was actually my husband's idea. My husband, many of you know, is currently stationed in Africa, but luckily we get to talk daily via FaceTime. So of course my husband knew what I had been going through these past couple of months. But he actually came to visit me about 2 weeks ago, unfortunately only for 5 days, but it was wonderful. But he got to witness how stressed out I was firsthand. And he said to me, "Baby, while I have never seen you more stressed, I do notice there are certain things you still do to take care of yourself. And maybe you should make a video on that, because some of your viewers might benefit from that." And I thought that was a great idea, because many of you have shared with me that you're currently going through a very stressful time in your life. Some of you are taking care of sick parents or loved ones. Some of you are struggling with an illness, have lost your job. And of course, stress is a normal part of our life. But I think so often when we go through stressful periods, we end up neglecting ourselves, which is easy to do. But I truly believe we can't give from an empty cup. So even though we might be taking care of somebody else, or are struggling with an illness, or are just going through a very stressful period in our life, I think it is very important to still take care of ourselves so that we then can take care of others and be good for others. So in this video, I'm going to share with you the things I did do to still take care of myself, even though, as I just mentioned, I was going through one of the most stressful periods in my life. Now, before I'm going to share with you the things I did to take care of myself to the best of my ability while going through, again, one of the most stressful times in my life, I am going to, of course, tell you what had me so stressed out. But I don't want to go too much into detail because, like I said, things are finally looking up and I want to focus on the positive. But it did feel strange not sharing with you what I was going through, because you truly feel like family to me. But like I said, I was really lacking time, energy, and motivation. But in a nutshell, when we lived on the East Coast temporarily, many of you know, once we left Paris, we lived on the East Coast for 6 months. So when we lived on the East Coast, we found out that Sammy, our little girl, who by the way just turned 15 on September 17th, had to have kidney surgery. To back up a little bit, when we lived in Paris, we found out through a random ultrasound that Sammy only had one functioning kidney and that she had only had one functioning kidney for her whole life. However, nobody would have ever known. She was doing amazing. But when we were on the East Coast, we took her to the vet for a random blood test, and suddenly her kidney numbers were elevated, which they hadn't been before. So we did another ultrasound and learned that her functioning kidney, the one functioning kidney, was now struggling. There was some congestion in her ureter, which is the tube between the kidney and the bladder, and it made it challenging for her to urinate, so urine was building up in the kidney and damaging it. So we were told if we wanted Sammy to stick around, which of course I want this little girl to live as long as possible, that she needed to have surgery. So even while living on the East Coast, even though we waited until moving to San Diego to have this surgery, which is known as a kidney bypass, done by one of the best surgeons in the country, even though when living on the East Coast, I already had in my mind, I just need to get Sammy through this surgery and then things will be okay and we can start our life in San Diego. Because of course surgery is never without risk, and especially a surgery like that, a kidney bypass, and at age 14, she was 14 when she had the surgery. So for a couple of months, I was already stressed, thinking she just needs to get through this surgery. When we got to San Diego, she had a consult, she had a surgery, everything went well. And I thought, that's it. Now we can start our life here in San Diego. Well, she ended up not recovering as well as we wanted to. Things went wrong and we couldn't quite figure out what was going wrong. But in the span of 6 weeks, I thought 3 times I was going to lose her. I was told all kinds of horrible things that were wrong with her, and basically told each time I should come and say goodbye to her. So being here without my husband and the thought of losing Sammy, who I adopted Christmas Eve 2009. So she has been with me. She has been my sidekick for almost 15 years. She doesn't leave my side. When I film, she's right next to me. She's right next to me right now. If you have a dog, you know you can't go to the bathroom by yourself. They're just always there. And she is, aside from my husband, the love of my life. So 3 times thinking I was going to lose her. And seeing her go through what she went through, she was so weak and just not having fun anymore. It was really, really, really hard to go through. But like I said, things are finally looking up. I think we figured it out, and I will keep you posted. But she's here right now. We went for a 3-mile walk this morning. Things are finally looking up, and I'm really relieved, and I'm finally ready to make videos again, to just be happy again, because it was quite challenging there for a little while. Now, if you don't have a dog, some of you might say, it's just a dog, you might not understand. But if you have a dog, I know you understand. My husband and I don't have children. She's our child. So to me, it would have been like losing a child. But like I said, let's focus on the positive. And let me tell you the things I did do, even though it was quite challenging, to take care of myself. Now, honestly, most of the things I did to take care of myself, I did not feel like doing. There was a time, especially when Sammy was in and out of the hospital for these last 6 weeks. And sometimes she stayed in the hospital for 4, 5, 6 nights. And again, each time I thought I might lose her. So there were some mornings that I didn't want to get out of bed because, again, she's been with me for 15 years. And for 15 years, every morning, I get up, mainly because she needs to go outside. She wants to go for a walk. So that's one of the reasons for me to get up. So when Sammy wasn't here, I would wake up in the mornings after a crappy night's sleep because I was waiting for the hospital to call me and give me bad news. I would wake up in the mornings thinking, what's the point? Why even get up? Nobody needs me to take them out. Nobody needs me to take them for a walk. So it was quite challenging. I didn't really want to take care of myself, but I did it because I knew that if I wouldn't, I would feel even more crappy and I wouldn't be good to anybody, and I surely wouldn't be good to Sammy when she came home and I needed to take care of her. So every morning, even when Sammy wasn't here, I would force myself to get up and go for a walk first thing in the morning to get some sunshine, to get some blue light stimulation, get some fresh air, get the blood moving. And it felt strange and depressing walking by myself. But what I often would do is call a friend on my walk. Now, I'm on the West Coast and I walk pretty early in the mornings, but luckily I have friends on the East Coast, I have friends in Germany, so I would always have somebody to talk to. And that was quite important for me as well. Not just making sure I would move my body every morning, going for a walk, but also connecting with friends and not isolating myself. Because I think that's something else we often tend to do when we go through stressful periods. We isolate ourselves. At least I used to. I used to think I just have to do this all by myself and I can't show any weakness. But I didn't do that this time. I reached out to as many friends as I possibly could. And of course, my friends knew what I was going through, so they reached out to me. So daily, I was talking to at least one girlfriend, and of course my husband, but to at least one girlfriend, and that really helped. And I would try to combine that with walking, because like I said, it felt so strange to be out by myself walking. I also, on top of walking, try to exercise every day, because exercise to me is just part of my day normally. And walking, I don't normally consider exercise, because normally I walk with Sammy and it's, we play with the ball and it's not like a power walk or something. And even when she wasn't with me, I wasn't power walking because I was too tired. But I still would make sure that I exercised every day. Now, I was kind to myself, and rather than saying, okay, I have to keep up my normal exercise regime, I allowed myself on days where I really had no oomph to just take it easy, to just do some yoga, go for an easy jog, whatever it was. But I still made sure to exercise daily, because again, I knew if I wouldn't, even though again, I didn't feel like it at all, what I really wanted to do is just sit on the couch and stare at the wall or cry. But I knew that if I wouldn't, I would feel even worse. And that after I was done working out, no matter how good or bad the workout was, I would feel better. So every morning I went for a walk, tried to connect with a friend, a loved one, and also made sure I exercised daily. Again, allowing myself to take it easy on the days I had very little oomph, and just do some yoga or stretching. And the days I had more energy, I would lift weights, go for a run, or do a harder workout. But while I didn't feel like it getting up in the mornings, I knew that if I kept up my momentum of working out daily, I would feel better, and it would give me more energy to get through the day. On top of moving daily, I also try to get as much nutrition into my body as possible. And many of you know that when you're going through a stressful period, you do not want to eat. At least that's how I am. And usually when I am stressed out, I lose quite a bit of weight. But I really wanted to take better care of myself than I have in the past. So actually one of my friends came to visit, and she was very sweet. She made me some meals. She was kind of like my mom. She said, I see you're not eating well. Let me cook you something. And she made enough to have some leftover. But that kind of reminded me of, yes, I really have to take care of myself, and I have to really nourish my body. So while oftentimes I didn't feel like eating or cooking, I did the best I could to make myself some nutritious meals. And when I ate them, I would often, rather than just sitting there by myself eating them and being depressed, again try to call a friend and just pretending I'm at a restaurant with a friend and we're having a conversation. It's challenging with my husband because we have an 8-hour time difference. So when I eat dinner, he's asleep. But I would often call a friend. And if I wasn't able to get a hold of a friend, I would try to watch something funny on television, just so I wouldn't just sit there and, again, feel like I'm by myself eating and depressed. And something else I did is I bought myself a juicer. Now, I actually had a juicer when we lived in Paris, and I used it quite frequently, but it broke. And ever since it broke, I wanted to replace it and had not gotten around to it. So this was the perfect excuse to get a new juicer, because I thought on the days I'm not eating enough, I can make myself a nice, nutritious juice. So I got a juicer, and I have been using it quite frequently, making myself just some very nutritious green juices with kale and celery and lemon, and just packing it full with nutrition, making sure to sort of supplement what I was maybe not eating. And then, as I said, when I was sitting there eating and I couldn't get a hold of a friend, I would often watch something funny. And that's something else I did to take care of myself, is rather than to watch the news, to read the news, to listen to the news, I didn't. I didn't care what was going on in the world. Well, within reason, of course, but I know myself. When I'm stressed, I'm very sensitive to what's going on outside. And I knew I couldn't handle more on top of what I was already going through. So I tried to not listen to the news and just really watch some funny, uplifting stuff, read funny, uplifting stuff, and just really focus on positivity over negativity. And that might be ignorant. Now, again, I know what's going on in the world. For a little while, I didn't, but I just needed that little break. And I just needed that break of being in a bubble and just focusing on funny, sweet, uplifting things. Let's see, what else did I do that really helped me? One thing that really helped me, and I really didn't do it so much for superficial purposes, was using my zip halo. Many of you who have been here for a little while know I love my zip halo. It is a microcurrent device. In fact, I had Melanie Simon, the founder of Zip, on my channel. If you have not seen that video, I will link it down below. It is fantastic. Make sure to check it out. But the zip halo, of course, is a microcurrent device that is mostly used for superficial purposes. But I was using it to self-soothe. I would apply my gel, sit on the couch, watch an uplifting movie, and for the whole movie, so for an hour and a half to 2 hours, I would use my zip. I would put it on Founder's Favorite, which is a nanocurrent only program that is 10 minutes long. And because it is nanocurrent, you don't have to follow a program. You can just sort of linger in a spot or just move it around slowly. And every 10 minutes, I would turn it back on and just keep using it. And that to me was just so soothing and so relaxing. It really helped me. Like I said, I didn't even care about the superficial purposes of it lifting or improving my skin. It just felt so soothing and so relaxing. Something else I use daily is my PEMF mat. And I've had my PEMF mat for quite a while. And I've only talked about it one time, very briefly in a video. And in that video, I said that while I enjoy using it, I don't know if it does anything for me. However, these last couple of months, I definitely felt a benefit from using it. Now, I can talk about the PEMF mat in more detail in a different video if you want me to. If you're curious, just let me know down below. But in a nutshell, it has different wavelengths. Some of them are calming, some of them are stimulating, and it also has infrared heat. So what I would do is I would lay on it daily with my headset, listen to some yoga nidra, which is something else I did daily, and I'll go into that in a second. Listen to some yoga nidra and just zone out. And I really felt, rather than just laying on my bed without the mat, doing the yoga nidra combined with the mat really made a difference. It really calmed me down. It really helped me relax. So I think I may have changed my mind about PEMF. I am going to continue using my mat now that I feel less stressed, and I will keep you posted. And maybe I will make a whole separate video on it if you're interested. If you use PEMF, please share your experience with it down below. I know when I talked about it briefly in another video, there were a couple of you that commented under that video saying that PEMF had been life-changing to you. So I would love to know if some of you use it, what is your experience with it? Like I said, when laying on the PEMF mat, I was listening to Yoga Nidra. Yoga Nidra is something I have been practicing for quite a while now. In fact, Andrew Huberman turned me onto it. And Yoga Nidra is also known as non-sleep deep rest. Now, I have been meditating for about a decade now, but Yoga Nidra is something, like I said, I started maybe about a year ago. And to me, I find it even more beneficial than the meditation I was doing before. So Yoga Nidra is basically a guided meditation. I follow a couple of people on YouTube. I will link them down below in case you're curious. But Yoga Nidra is something that has really helped me, even more so than the meditation I had been doing for about a decade before, which was already helpful. But Yoga Nidra, for some reason, is even more helpful to me. It gets me out of my head and into my body, which oftentimes I have a bit of a disconnect there. So that is something I did on a daily basis. I would lay on my PEMF mat, listen to some Yoga Nidra, and really try to get out of my head and try to stop this negative chatter that wanted to just keep going on in my head. And that is something else I try to really practice, is stop that negative chatter. Because I think most of us have this little voice in our head that just wants to keep going on all day long and tell us all this negative stuff. And especially when we are going through a challenging time, sometimes that little voice can be quite persistent. But I would just tell it to shut up as often as I could, because of course it wanted to do the what if, and the what if are never positive, they're always negative. So as often as I was aware of it, because sometimes it goes on autopilot for a while before I would be aware of it, but as often as I became aware of it, and still as often as I become aware of it now, because it doesn't just want to give up, I try to shut it up and go, nope, I don't want to listen to that. I don't want to listen to that. And I try to redirect those thoughts into something I actually want to think about and want to listen to. And I have talked about this, I think, a couple of years ago in another video about this voice, right? If, again, we all have this voice in our head, unfortunately, but if this was an outside person telling us all this stuff, how long would it take us to say, get away from me, I don't want to listen to you? So that's what I try to do to myself. I try to say to this voice, get away, I don't want to listen to you. And instead, again, turned it into something positive that I wanted to listen to, that gave me hope and that didn't exhaust me so much. And then, of course, I did my skincare routine daily. Normally, most of you know, skincare is quite a big part of my self-care regime. So these past few months, I didn't do it as enthusiastically or as in-depth as I normally do, but I made sure every day to take a shower or a nice hot bath, which was quite calming and soothing, to wash my face, to put something on my body that felt nice and nourishing and nurturing, to apply some nice serums or lotions to my face. And it was really more about nurturing myself than about the superficial benefits of it. So I hope this video was helpful. Like I said, quite a few of you have shared with me that you are currently going through a stressful time in your life. Some of you have shared with me that you are taking care of your parents who are sick, and I can't even begin to imagine how stressful that must be. Some of you have shared with me that you are struggling with an illness, and again, I can't even begin to imagine how stressful and how challenging that must be. Unfortunately, illness, stress is part of our life. But again, hopefully this video was a tiny bit helpful, showing you that even when we go through stressful periods in our life, there are some things we can do, and they don't have to be crazy, but there are some things we can do to still take care of ourselves so that we can fill up that cup, even just a tiny bit, so we can take care of others or of ourselves. I would love to know, do you have a self-care practice that you practice when you go through stressful times? If you don't mind sharing down below. Any questions or comments, of course, please share them down below. I always love to hear from you. And I want you to know how grateful I am for every single one of you. Like I said at the beginning of this video, you feel like family to me. And not sharing with you what was going on in my life felt really strange, and I really missed you. But things are looking up. I'm looking forward to being back on a regular basis and to connecting with you. So thank you so much for all your love and support, for being you, for being wonderful, for being part of this community. I wouldn't be here without you, and I so appreciate every single one of you. Until next time, bye.